Dan Illman, Mike Beer taking a look back at the Sham Stakes, a Kentucky Derby prep race offering 10 Kentucky Derby qualifying points. This race was contested at Santa Anita on January the 4th. It is a grade 3 going a 2-turn mile. Bob Baffert had the 2 favorites in this race. He had the speedy Del Mar debut winner, Authentic, stretching out, and he had Azul Coast, who came from way off the pace after losing ground in his debut at Los Alamitos. They break from the gate. Authentic, the 1 for Drayden Van Dyke, stretching out, was expected to show speed. I was kind of surprised how easily he made the front.
Yeah, I mean, you know, he really used his speed right from the start in this race. It turned out to be the right thing to do. He is, I mean, basically in complete control of this race by the time they hit the first turn. And, you know, you're right, Baffert had the 2 favorites here. They run 1-2, but it's really all about only one of his horses, Authentic.
And going 2 turns and stretching out for the first time, I like the way he eventually relaxes on the lead. He is going a nice, easy rhythm, 23-4, half mile, 47-4. He is clear on the lead. This is just an ideal trip for a horse stretching out and stepping up for the first time.
Yeah, I think all those things are true. What I liked best about this race, too, I liked the ride that he got, just asserting himself from the rail right from the gate. But you're going to see right about here, Dan, he really picks things up here around the second turn of the race, and he's going to get everybody. It's a relatively tight pack right now. He's going to get them all in full-out drives around this second turn, and he's just too much horse for these guys.
We see Joel Rosario on the 4, Azul Coast, the second choice in this race, just trying to keep up right now. The pace not very fast. He's down inside for the first time in his career, taking some dirt, and I guess he's going to be game for second. No match for Authentic. The story of the race is what happens when Authentic turns into the stretch. The race is over right now.
Yeah.
He's well in control. Really, he can only beat himself, and he almost does.
Yeah, it's interesting because, you know, he still wins by over 7 lengths, but he's not even running at this point. You can see,
jumps over the rail.
Instead of finishing this race off like a real horse, he's just, I don't know what he's doing again. He's very green. It's very interesting, too, because when you go back to watch his debut at Del Mar, he didn't do this, but you could tell even that he won that race basically on talent alone. He was still a little bit green, and it didn't feel like he was full out winning that race, but he didn't do anything like he did here on the stretch out. I guess maybe he was just so far in front that he really got to goofing off.
He's a son of the classy stallion Into Mischief, and he sold for $350,000 as a yearling. Not a ton of pedigree here. The 3rd dam was a graded stakes winner, but this horse has shown big speed in both starts. He has passed the 2-turn test. Now it looks like they'll have to stretch him out a little bit longer, obviously. Yeah. Baffert, of course, has choices. He also has a lot of good 3-year-olds in his barn. The initial response after this race was, well, let's keep him in Southern California. Maybe we'll run him in the San Felipe in the early March, going a mile and a 16th. And, you know, I think that's the right spot for him. I wouldn't want to ship this horse out of town or fool around too much with him.
No, he's probably too green to do something like that right now. So you maybe give him one more race at his home track and see what he does. Listen, he can only get better from here as far as I'm concerned. And, you know, it's interesting about his pedigree because you're right. It's not, when you look through it, there's not a ton of performance down there. But obviously, when you just see him on tape there, he's a real good, he looks the part for sure. And his dam, I don't know if you remember his dam. He was a horse, or his dam was a horse that Bill Mott trained. She won her debut by 13 lengths at Belmont Park and took a ton of money that day, ran an 87 buyer, and only ran 1 time after that. And she ran a 93 in her second start. She could run that horse. She just didn't get to put a career together. This colt looks like one of the better 3-year-olds right now, especially if he can figure out the game.
Let's talk about the also-rans briefly. Azul Coast, of course, won a 2-turn debut over a wet track at Los Alamitos. Did not beat the strongest field, but was very, very wide. I guess this was a learning experience, taking dirt for the first time. He just couldn't keep up. Yeah. And I think we're taking a look, and I think it's fair to say, even only after 2 starts, this horse just doesn't have a lot of speed. He looks like a plodding type, but he also looks like the kind of horse that wants a lot more distance.
Yeah, more distance could really work for him. He certainly, to me anyway, ran well enough considering his trip in his debut that you want to keep an eye on him for at least a couple more races. Obviously, he was just no match for a stablemate in this race, but maybe he'll get better as the distances get longer.
I guess Tyshawn was a bit of a disappointment. He was bet down 2-1 third choice in this race. Not a great break, but he sat an outside trip, and when it was time for him to go, he just could not keep up with Authentic. He got a good figure for his maiden win at Santa Anita, but this was a step backwards.
Yeah, he really, at the end of the day, just was no match in this race, and there wasn't a big excuse for him. It's fine that he couldn't go with Authentic. Nobody could go with Authentic in this race, but for him to finish off the board in this race was disappointing.
I think we'd concur that Authentic's going to have to clean up all these little eccentricities that he's shown in the the stretch, but if there's anyone that can do it, it's Bob Baffert, and this is a horse right now that, as you see, a perfect 2 for 2 in his career. Authentic, a son of Into Mischief. Perhaps we'll see him in the San Felipe. Baffert has plenty of good 3-year-olds and plenty of options and plenty of time. This horse has gotten off to a nice early start to his 3-year-old campaign.